agenda for today, I'll give a short introduction on Space4Cities and the project, and then we will see the 5 suppliers, the winners for phase 3, VISTA, CLIMAPS, DYNAMO-SM. Then there will be a short coffee break, or if we go over time, we will just need the time to catch up. After the coffee break, we have CHERISH, CityMotion, and then there is a session from Alex, the practical information about being a replicator city. At the end, we have a short Q&A. An introduction to Space4Cities, the project. Space4Cities uses a pre-commercial procurement approach to develop innovative solutions using satellite data. The goal is to help cities better manage public spaces, green areas, transport infrastructure, and maintenance, making them more resilient and future-proof. This is the mission. And in short, we have 4 phases. Right now, we are at the start of the phase 3. In phase 1, it's already 2 years ago. It started with an open market consultation, and then we went on to phase 1. So this was phase 0, excuse me. We went over to phase 1, where we had 20 suppliers that could make a solution design. After phase 1, we went over to phase 2 with 10 of these suppliers that developed a prototype. And today we are here. Out of the 10, we go on with 5 suppliers that will pilot in a buyers group city. Consortium. We have the 5 buyer group cities, being Amsterdam, Athens, Ghent, Guimarães, and Helsinki. And then we have our other partners, Aerospace Valley in France and in Brussels, Belgium. Space4Cities challenges, the 3 main challenges: sustainable mobility, climate resilience, and urban planning and management. The phase 3 piloting, the duration is 10 months. The goals and expectations for the 5 suppliers is to develop a pilot implementation plan together with their paired buyers group city, implement and test the pilot in the buyer group city. So that will be from October, after the pilot implementation plan is ready. And then develop a pilot implementation plan together with the 2 replicator cities, and implementation in the replicator cities, and then validate the solutions in real-life conditions. The consortium, what do they need to do? The selection of the replicator cities. There will be a call for replicator cities that is open since yesterday until the 15th of September. They support the cities in fielding the pilots in the buyer group cities and the replicator cities, and they review and validate the results and generate recommendations for future PCPs. 5 winners or suppliers that we go on in phase 3 are VISTA, DYNAMO-SM, CHERISH, CLIMAPS, and CityMotion. So we have 2 of them in the segment planning infrastructure. We have 1 in mobility, and we have 2 in climate left. Okay, so this was my introduction. Then I give the floor to the 5 suppliers, and we start with VISTA. So Nora, can you take over, please? Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Anne, and hello, everyone. Very happy to present to you the solution by Beta Green, Treesense, and Climate Scale. I'm going to share my screen. Please confirm that you see it in slideshow.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we started to work around several years ago, really with the mission to make cities resilient based on nature. And then one of the big blockers is always to also be able to defend investments into green infrastructure. So that was really our guiding, let's say, our guide in seeing like, okay, what can we do to help cities to be able to defend investment in green infrastructure? And what we built is a tool, is a platform that gives municipal teams predictive intelligence to be able to see when to manage, how to monitor, but also how to plan for more resilience and better outcomes at the return of the investment. So the solution is brought to you by a consortium of 3 partners. Myself, I'm leading Beta Green. We're a spin-off of the Brussels University. We have a geospatial climate and nature risk platform. And our mission is to bring nature-based resilience to cities and assets at scale. And then we partner with Climate Scale, who are specialized in downscaling climate scenarios, but also weather forecasts for cities, so that we know also if resilience, if the green infrastructure brings us resilience today, will it also be ready for tomorrow? And then TreeSense is our tree expert, our vegetation expert, who bring 2 things. First, the insight on what really happens in the tree, but also understanding how we can select trees that are ready for the climate for tomorrow. So how VISTA works, we do the full 360 of vegetation management in cities, planning and managing vegetation in cities. So we have developed 3 products that allow to get that full 360. So the first one is the maintain. And the question when in a city, when you have a lot of trees, you have more than 1,000, sometimes more than 1 million trees. So if you have to think about where do you go? What is the priority? Where do you go first? So here we target as a user the maintenance teams, arborists, and the functionality of this tool really helps to schedule and prioritize the interventions on the vegetation, with as a target that you can keep that vegetation in a healthy condition so that it brings all the benefits that we rely on. So it brings the cooling capacity, it brings the air quality improvement, noise reduction, flood absorption, etc. So the added value of this product is that you can anticipate risks before the event occurs and before the vegetation gets damaged, because we know it's very expensive to have to replace vegetation, but there's also an element of managing risks of trees that are under stress, a windstorm comes, and then the branches have not been pruned recently. That's really a problem that can bring huge costs, including human lives. The second product that we have is a monitor product, and that product is targeting those people in the cities and municipalities that have to monitor and manage the green spaces. So it's a level more with a bit more overview, let's say. And here the target is to be able to report on changes, on costs, and on the value of the green spaces. So the functionality that this product gives is more like a multi-scale view of the green infrastructure, the performance. So typically we will show you what have been the changes over the past year. Do you comply with the 330-300? What has been the health of the vegetation in the past year or the past years? What have been the costs that you had to make? And so it really helps to optimize the maintenance budgets, but it also is made to easily be able to report on what is happening with the green spaces, both internally in the municipality, but also towards EU regulation, the nature restoration law, etc. And then the last product is the planner. This is the flagship product of Beta Green that we've been developing for many years and that we have now also introduced into the VISTA suite. So here what we are doing is that based on our understanding of the risk in the city, we are going to identify where green infrastructure adds most value. And the planner will help you to bring a convincing narrative to make those investments in green infrastructure. So the target here are urban planners, and it's a tool that does scenario modeling. So we suggest scenarios of additional planting of green infrastructure, be it street trees, be it parks. It could also be extended to green roofs, etc. But it could also calculate like what happens if you remove this vegetation, how much do you actually lose by that? And here the added value is to have a quantified impact and to be able to justify funding. So we end this product with kind of an investment case that you can readily bring to investors or introduce into project proposals. The science is a mix of satellite imagery, weather forecast analysis, and this on the bottom right here, a tiny sensor, an IoT sensor that helps us to validate and understand better what the satellite image tells us. So basically where we come at eventually is this image here, tree level moisture content, which tells us what is the health and can identify which trees are under stress and therefore need targeted maintenance and will have reduced value. And we do that by downscaling NDVI satellite images, forecast modeling, using weather forecasts also, and validating, cross-validating that with the signal we get from the sensors. The potential impact is huge, so it will really help to optimize the public space functionality. So based on these new real-time environmental conditions, we can confidently say that the survival rates increase. So you will know a tree that has gone through one drought stress and another, or that has gone through a drought stress and then there is a windstorm. These are the trees that are then very vulnerable, and being able to act soon will improve the survival rates. We also know the maintenance cost reductions. This is mainly related to irrigation. We have a use case. So here we say 10% is a very conservative estimate. We have a use case in Germany where they have reduced irrigation costs by more than 70%, just by knowing that, okay, if this tree needs water or not. So you're not just irrigating because of a planned schedule, but you do that actually based on the needs. And then also, of course, the faster decision cycle. So in discussion with the municipalities, we define the tailored reporting, what you actually need, so that it comes out easily out of the platform without having to compile and put pictures, etc. So the way we have built the product is it does need some onboarding. So we will need to spend some time with you to get the system set up for your city, but then we have a modular architecture, so it allows us to really adapt to where you are in terms of data availability, particularly in terms of the availability of a tree inventory. Yeah? So we know that not all cities have a very complete tree inventory, so we also have a system to compensate for that, or to allow to create a simple tree inventory to start and to build it up as we go. So how would the pilot go? So I'm going to show you two slides. One of the lead city, because it then is a long version of what we will do with the replicator city. Yeah. So in the lead city, we have a 6-month walkthrough where we have about a month to onboard, to set up the system and to install the sensors. And we will, with the lead city, make sure we test everything. And make sure that the users can work with the system. And then we have identified a couple of early outputs. Yeah, so we do a hotspot identification to see where high stress is. We identify a project that we estimate a return on investment of 5%. Yeah, so we will identify locations in the city where adding green infrastructure will give you a 5% return on investment. After month 4, we can give you information on the maintenance improvement, and finally we come up with an investment plan. So in the replicator cities, and I will spend a little bit more time on this slide. So this is condensed in the sense that we will bring that value over 3 months instead of 6, but we will start as soon as possible. So this is maybe an interesting point to remember. As soon as we can install the sensors, like even in September, the sooner we can start measuring with leaf on what is happening in the trees. So we're very open to already start early. And then we let the system run, we collect the data. We don't have to worry about that. But then in month 3, we would actually start with you. We do the same, we onboard, we do the end user training, and then we start working with the tool. And you will get the 2 outputs condensed. So you will have your hotspot identification. The planner will produce an investment plan with 5% return. And then we also give you the maintenance planning improvements. So what do we need from you to be able to work? Is limited in the sense the must-haves is basically we need to have georeference tree data. So as a minimum, we would need tree locations and land cover. If that is not available in a database with DBH, with the tree species, ideally the tree age, we will use DSM and DTM to produce that data. Yeah. So at the very minimum, you need to have a digital surface model, digital terrain model, and a land use layer. We would need physical tree access to a number of trees, a limited number of trees, so we can do the sensors to test the accuracy of the system. And then involvement of the city, we have calculated around 4 total for a project owner. We will have to talk with your GIS department or the data department. We would want to talk to your arborist or maintenance team, and also to the person that is in charge of sustainability, climate adaptation. Variable is if you have any alert system documentation. So we know, for example, our lead city has a system where citizens can alert when they see something is wrong with a tree, that they think it needs pruning or that it is under drought stress. Ideally, also have historical maintenance logs. That's very useful for us to do machine learning to understand better how trees respond to events. And then there is a couple of wood halves. So of course, if you have a smart city system, we will link to that, to the digital twin and historical microclimate data. Any information you have on temperature, wind, etc. in the city will be very useful because we use that to train and validate our models. So this is the presentation of VISTA. Since it's very short, please take a picture of the QR code. If you want to know more before making your decision, we're very happy for you to book a demo with us, and we can go a little bit more in depth to explain the system. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Nora, for your presentation. Okay, the next one we want to see is CLIMAPS. I see, Gaetano, that you are there, but maybe we should wait another 3 minutes.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Okay. First of all, thank you. We are happy to be here. Let me introduce CLIMAPS. CLIMAPS is a solution that go from space data to urban climate intelligence, as in the call requires, and is a project presented together by Latitude 40, Planet Italia, and Team Dev that I present in a while. So the objective is how to turn European space data into tools useful for cities to take the decision. Now we are in this extremist bubble in this moment, so as this solution is a mandatory at the moment for every city in Europe to plan the design of the city to be more resilient to events like this. I don't give you all these parts that I shared. Go finally, the future problem that we can have in the city, the future that is now, is rising debt, floods, and other environmental risks, unproven green investments. Urban monitor is expensive and sometimes is blind. And finally, there is a normal activity to plan without test. The vision of CLIMAPS is not only to see the problems, but to test the solution before spending euro in investment. And this is the mission and the vision of our project CLIMAPS. Let me introduce the consortium. So we are one consortium based in Italy. We are together not just for this project, but the three companies have a strategic approach to the market. We are, for example, together in the big IRIDE project, that is the new Italian constellation. So it's a long history of collaboration, and we are leading Italian remote sensing operator. And in this project, we combine our TRL9 solution with new development capabilities. So the idea of CLIMAPS is to share the components and technology produced in Italy to give a support to every European cities. So just give you a demo of the platform very quick, where you can see, let me share the environment, just to give you some aspects to show our platform. The platform is completely web-based, and in the platform you can see that you have different projects. You can zoom in cities. You can see the different services subscribed, like a map that you can see are multi-temporal map, the map, and then the analysis at district level. This is to transform the information that are contained in the map in the information that could be useful to be used. And then this is our simulator that I will present. So what we produce and what we offer in this project are 8 climate intelligence products, and these 8 climate intelligence products are divided in 3 thematic groups. So one platform, a lot of services. The products that will be available also for new city are all the topic on the climate risk, so surf and urban is Thailand and flooding, so we can identify risk for flooding at building level in every city, and the variation on the land surface temperature in urban in Thailand also identify what is the problem derived from. The second problem is, the second tool is related to all the green in the city, not only the present, the tree cover density, but also an estimation of the health of the trees and of the greenery, the structure of the vegetation, also to identify how this vegetation generated shadow to cool the city, and the biodiversity potential. So one of the aspects is our city are losing. So the idea is also to open possibility to city to plant trees and define policy also based on Natura directive to maintain the biodiversity in the city and the peri-urban areas. Then we have the land use and the soil sealing. Land use and soil sealing are information regarding how the land is used in the city and how this land change year over year or month over month. So, for example, we can see the area that are consuming land or the district that are saving lands station or transforming bare soils in green spaces. So all the information to plan the future of the city. So we did not impose our geography in this project, but we used the city needs. So for the different city that worked with us in the prototype phase, we use the distribution at the district level, but we can go very easily, not at district, but at single street to give information at this level of information. Finally, one of the new things is the simulator. The simulator is what I called before, test before invest. So it's a tool that gives the capability to move from the observation to decision to verify what is the impact of new investment and how this investment reduce or remove the risk that we identified. So in this case, there's a video here. Just to show you the video to present, we just use as import the master plan that the city used to, what is the design of the city from a GIS point of view. So we import the GIS platform and we can identify based on tree cover density and other aspects, how the passage of, we simulated the passage of the satellite in 1, 3, or 5 years, and we can see that this planning of the redesign of the city will be solved or not the problem identified. It's important that the result is just also a report, a download report, so the high-level decision part of the city don't need to access the map, read to the platform map, but receive just a report with all the information, and so as the capability to take the best decision for the city and for the citizen. As I said, we work on this part, and finally we have also, I will add also in the chat this link for the demo. We are able are very happy to schedule a demo with every city want. We have a calendar that later I add in the chat, so everyone that is interested can send a demo for us to verify if there is a possibility to enter in the project as a replicator. We have in the phase 3 of the project, we will add also a new product that is not already inserted in phase 2, that is the air quality monitoring. So we can define for each city that will join in our project also the analysis of the pollutants in the air at 25-meter resolution, so very hyper-local information. That will be a solution also to identify how the trees are removing the pollution from the air, but also how is safe the air for our citizens, and how we can identify the hotspot for the new intervention for the air quality monitoring, also based on the new directive and new air quality monitoring regulation from the European Commission. So how we'll go to the phase. So we will have the validation to the city, continuous interaction. Now we have this. We will work with the city of Amsterdam, and we will be extremely happy to extend this experimentation also to the other 2 cities. And so in this case, we have the onboarding, we have a customer portal where all the information are, there is also a training set for the people that join the platform. So full support to give you the capability to use this information inside your city. So this is my presentation. The idea beside the CLIMAPS is that every city in Europe deserves better data, but it's important that every European citizen has the need to have better decision from the city. And thank you for your time. And if you have a question, I am here to give an answer.
Okay, thank you, Gaetano. There is already a question, I guess, or a hand raising up.
In the meantime, I add in the chat the link to schedule the demo. If someone would like to schedule a demo, I added the link in the
You're very ahead of scheme, so if someone has a question for Gaetano, we have the time now.
Yeah, you can also have a very quick access to the platform if we have 3 minutes. So just to give you details, we have a little bit time. So this is the platform that we developed for the city. It's extremely easy. In this case, you see all the city that are using for the pilot. So for each city, we have the map. So this is the land cover. The map can be also seen different periods. So in this case, we analyzed the 24 and the 25. It's clear from this point, I cannot understand what changed in this period, but we can go in this other tool, this other service that is the KPI for land use. You can see there is the distribution in district of the city of Amsterdam. You see different color because each color gives immediately who has the major differentiation. So if I go here, I see this is the distribution of land use in the 2025. I can analyze in 2024, as I said, but the information that we provide is the variation. So in particular, this city transformed a big part of grassland in tree cover. So probably there is a plantation activity and increasing also increasing of permanent water body with the reduction of herbaceous wetland. You have also variation. What are the districts with the biggest variation in the year, and some other information. The same aspect is for soil sealing. Here is a map that don't tell you anything, but if you go here, you can see the same information with same color. So if we see that how this is distributed, the area of this district between impervious and non-impervious, and how is the variation in this year. So there is an important growth of impervious in the period. This is the best district, and so this the same I see for the green health. You see here always the map and the KPI that is associated. In this case, more green is the district, more healthy is the greenery in the district. This is important to identify. Also the same, the map. This is a satellite map. You cannot understand anything between this map, but if you go on this view, you can see that in this area you have the distribution of biodiversity potential index. We create this index for them that we can also explain here. Number of potential habitats in the district, and the score in this case is 100%. That is the identification of where the number of potential habitats exceeded the biodiversity threshold. So it's a very good district. It's clear this problem is not so good. You can see the potential and the biodiversity variation on the city. Finally, we have some other aspects. This is information about the temperature. As I said, now we are in this phase of estimate the temperature. In this case, at a resolution of a meter, so I can analyze at street level, and so I can identify that in this case the area with immediate intervention. I see here, for example, you see an area where the temperature is lower, and if I go down, I see that is the area, the green area, that is the sea. But if I come back here, you can understand. Probably Amsterdam has probably only here you have is a channel, very few vegetation in the city that create the corridors. The same, this is a map, this is the data, very extremely more detailed. In this case, you can see the maximum temperature, the minimum during the day. You can see how the cover is distributed by improved and vegetated, and the population by age, because in this case, the high temperature has a big impact on fragile people that are elderly and children. So you see how many people here are elderly and children. And so the tree cover density, how the growth of urban Thailand, and finally we have the max temperature. So a lot of information. It's clear that this information can be also customized based on the city. Now we started with Amsterdam to improve the representation, but we will do the same work with the city, the city, and here there is also Naples, just to demonstrate that we cannot work only, the platform is extremely scalable. And so the same data we have on the city of Naples with no problem. So we can integrate any city in the same platform, same environment, no change. So we can go here, for example, in the city of Naples, and I can show you the flooding risk at street level. So I can identify for each street what is the street that could be affected by a flood in case of heavy rain or for a pluvial flooding. So that's all for the geosimulator. You can create your simulation here if you have not a GIS master plan. You can create like a game. Use this information to put small tree, medium tree, big tree, bare soil in the map, and the simulator will calculate how we reduce the risk. So if you have another question, I can stop here my presentation.
Okay, thank you, Gaetano. And so now we
just to answer to Tanya, yes, the solution could be available in different languages, also in French. Just to give you we are finalizing an activity in this moment with the Grenoble Metropole, and the platform is translated in French.
Thank you. So thank you. We go over now to DYNAMO-SM.
Okay, perfect. So hi everyone. Thank you very much for attending this presentation, and I'm sharing in the name of the Ever Impact company that we are very thrilled to show you today and talk to you about the company, but also the DYNAMO-SM project that we are structuring around the phase 3 of SPACE4Cities. So today I'm going to talk to you very rapidly about Ever Impact and then the solution, our roadmap, and what it means to be piloting with us. The company Ever Impact has been built around the vision that a carbon neutral world is only made possible by global, certifiable, and accessible data, carbon data. So what we are developing is a GHG emission measurement solution for local authorities and transport sectors and most of the business, the most pollutant businesses in the world. The company, a staff of 15 people, with an HQ in Paris and offices in Tokyo and Copenhagen. So we have a very global footprint. We partners with more than 12 cities now, and in 7 countries in Europe, in UK, in Asia. And our investors are mostly transport companies, but also the European Commission that has invested 2 times in the company, but that is also finalizing a 3rd investment. So what we aim to build is a network that is allowing every cities in the world, but also businesses to measure their CO2 emissions at a very local scale, meaning a very highly resolute solution, 100 meter, every hours, anywhere in the world. The company has been built by 3 former executives of the United Nations, and we are operating in, let's say, 4 different verticals for the moment. The first one being the cities and the regions, where we install sensors on the grounds. Road transportation also, where we tend to transform buses and public transportation infrastructures into live and moving sensors. And we also install sensors in ships and ports. And we also help forests manager to better regenerate their forest and make them future-proof facing the climate change. Basically, what we do is that we install sensors on the grounds, in the ship. We use also sensors in space. We are on the verge to deploy our first own satellites to start our own space infrastructure, and we use software and AI algorithms, of course. The problem that we are trying to solve is basically the fact that most of the companies that we met and now the cities, thanks to this framework, use inaccurate statistics to report their emissions. Basically, those estimates that they use prevent them to achieve a certain level of CO2 reduction from 10 to 30%, and also make them miss a lot of funding opportunities. So I was saying, yeah, those cities are the ones who are most likely left behind in terms of funding mechanism to accelerate their decarbonization efforts. And this is exactly the problem that we are trying to solve. So what we are developing here is DYNAMO-SM, which helps cities that are relying on outdated and accurate and costly estimated based emission inventories. And it offers you a high-resolution carbon intelligence platform to empower city planners and sustainability officer with dynamic public space management. So basically, you see that you have your city, you can identify hotspots like this highway exchanger, and understand very quickly how much CO2 this specific space emits. And you can also query a sustainability AI agent that can extract actionable insights and generate custom dashboards to improve and centralize and simplifying the reporting efforts. We are already working with several cities in Europe, and we are continuing to develop this solution. So basically, encompass, let's say, maybe 3 main features. The first one is that it is a map-centric interface where you can see your city, you can select a specific neighborhoods and see in real time hour by hour, day by day, or month by month, or year by year, your emissions with a breakdown in terms of sectors, so like from road transportation, residential housing, or commercial areas, agriculture, other kind of transportation. We can identify an airport, a railway station, anything. Then you have what we call the AI copilots that you can query with natural language to navigate through the numbers and the map, and that is the understanding of this very complex CO2 data. And you have the capacity to generate a custom dashboard based on your needs to monitor your progresses and to accelerate your report efforts. So how does it work? Basically, we are obviously using a lot of space data from Sentinel-1 to Sentinel-2, but also space-borne CO2 measurements like OCO2 and OCO3. Those are two satellites that has been operated by the NASA, US-based space agency. That are monitoring those two satellites. Actually, this is one satellite, OCO2, and the OCO3 is actually the same sensors, but mounted on the ISS, International Space Station. And those satellites measure the CO2 concentration in the atmosphere. So we use that, and we use also the sensor that we put on the ground to build what we call a 3D AI native city digital twin. That encompass, your land use, land cover, your digital surface model, and basically we use what we call the Earth Observation Foundation model. So those are big, very big AI models that are trained on thousands and millions of Earth observation imageries. And we use that to generate and to measure the CO2 emission at every place in your city. And of course, because this is AI, we wanted to back it with science. So we have also built this CFD, so computational fluid dynamics based training engine that's basically solved the computational fluid dynamics equations. So really grounded into science to retroplume, so look back in time and look back in time, to see if we are measuring this concentration in the atmosphere, what does that mean in terms of the sources of the emissions? So basically, this is how we do it, and now it's ready for deployment in your city. Another fact is that we have recently secured a new investment to launch our first small satellites. And it will allow us to reduce the number of sensors that we will need to deploy on the ground in your cities. So basically, the overall goal is to be able to, I don't know, maybe to reduce by a factor 10 the number of sensors that we will need to deploy in the cities. In terms of commercial traction, so we have also already deployed the solution in Lausanne, Zurich, and Bern with post-finance. We are with the mail, let's say, public operator in Switzerland, and they want to scale that at 2,000 Swiss cities starting in 2027. We are also deploying the solution in Mechelen in Belgium, and with the second biggest port of Europe, Port of Antwerp. It is an interesting use case because this will allow us also to scale to multi-gas monitoring. So not only CO2, but also NOx and SOx and particulate matters. We are also deploying the solution in the region Île-de-France, meaning the Paris region. And we got a lot of interest from 17 net zero cities. In terms of roadmap, as I was saying, we are launching the first pilot Cube satellites. We are also deploying more than 300 to 400 sensors in 20 European cities. That's the goal for Q1 and Q2 2027. And the end goal is basically, as I said, reach a planet scale network to be able to measure emission everywhere in the world, because our, let's say, core belief is that there is no such scope 1, scope 2, scope 3 emissions. It's just only a scope 1. So every CO2 ton of CO2 that is released in the atmosphere is released somewhere at some time in the world. So what is actually a scope 2 or scope 3 for a city can be a scope 1 for another city or another place in the world. So with that, with this comprehensive and global view, we'll be able to help you to monitor your decarbonization efforts at scale and for every kind of activities that is happening in your city. What does it mean to start a pilot with us? There is actually no minimal onboarding requirements. It's zero IT friction, cloud-native platform with zero dependency on local infrastructure. We can roll out very quickly. It's about just mounting the compact IoT sensors on municipal infrastructure, primarily lump spots. So this is what you can see here. Very non-invasive at 8 or 3 or 4 meter. This requires 5 units per sensors, and to have an access to a local LoRaWAN gateway for the data to flow into the servers. And then you will be able to what do we be able to achieve with that solution? Basically, measure and optimize your city emissions in weeks, not in years anymore. Let's imagine that you have identified hotspots in a specific area of the city, and you want to define a low emission zone or to improve your already existing low emission zones. You will be able to see the total amount of CO2 that is emitted by these low emission zones. You will be able to see if there is any rebound effect around this low emission zone. Obviously, and hopefully, eventually, you will be able to unlock new carbon finance possibilities like green bonds and climate loans at very profitable conditionalities. Thank you very much. And we can't encourage you more to obviously stop estimate your emissions and start to measure, optimize, and finance them with our tool. Thank you.
Thank you, Say, for your presentation. We still have 3 minutes until coffee break. So if someone has a question right now, it can be asked.
Hello?
Okay, Stefano. Yes?
Yes. The question is simple. Are you correlating pollution with health? And if you do, how you proceed? Thanks.
Yeah, thank you very much for your question. So as I said, the primary focus on our product is CO2 emissions. CO2 is not, let's say, a dangerous gas for human health. It's already part of the atmosphere, but it's true that with the extension that we are preparing with the ports, etc., with NOx and SOx and PMs, it's a very interesting topic. Obviously, the platform is built to allow the user to inject any kind of data report and any kind of insight that you want to share to the system, and the AI agent will be able to correlate those different things. But for the moment, it's not ready to monitor the other gases.
Okay, thank you, Say. So I suppose we take a coffee break now, and we will be back at 2:05. Okay, it's 2:05. So
can we start?
Yes.
Hello. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for allowing us today to introduce CHERISH, the solution by OnSite. CHERISH is a solution for the management and monitoring of cultural assets, okay, cultural heritage assets. So what is CHERISH? CHERISH is the decision support system for the cities to monitor and manage their cultural heritage sites and buildings. So first, maybe I go back to who the supplier is, who we are. So the company is called OnSite, and we are a French startup specialized on data analytics and Earth observation, dedicated to the monitoring of infrastructure. Our key expertise are data analytics, DevOps, data platform integration, Earth observation, and radar, INSAR. Okay. Why we are different? We're different because we leverage the satellite data for a use case which is not addressed by public interest. such as the cultural heritage monitoring. Most of Europe's cities have cultural heritage, and they lack using the right technologies to monitor them at scale. So we have experience with the monitoring of other assets, other infrastructure, such as the bridges for the municipalities. We have a pilot, we've made a pilot with the city of Meudon, which is outside of Paris, and the collectivity, the territorial collectivity outside of Paris, on the west side of Paris, includes Meudon, which is called GPSO, Grand Paris Seine Ouest. We have been supported by ISA-BIC, which is the Business Incubation Center, the European Space Agency, and we are, of course, fully aligned with the EU mission statement to use space data for the benefit of the European communities. We have a multidisciplinary team with Earth observation, DevOps, AI, UX, public procurement, and legal skills. So now maybe I'll leave the floor to Yanis, who will show you directly a demo of the solution, and maybe for the replicator cities to refresh that point in the process, the prototype is operational. This is what we delivered at the end of phase 2. So what you see here is fully operational. It works, it's online. We just have to create the parameters to create it for you. It's, as you will see, multi-language support. So we currently support from Greek to Finnish. Oddly enough, we have French, but we don't have French implemented in that version. But we can do that in French as well, and be more than happy to do it. But so far, we only done it in the 5 languages that were supported by the group, the cities, the leader cities. Voilà, let's get started with Yanis. Go, Yanis.
Yeah, thank you, Dan. So Dan already introduced to the first element of our application, which is here the onboarding screen. As he said, we have already implemented it in 5 languages, and any additional language is really easy to add according to your needs and wishes. So today I will select as a demo city Belgium with a list of example of assets retrieved from OpenStreetMap, OSM. And I want also to mention that I will briefly switch to some Helsinki, Finland data later in this demo. So what happens, or what just happened, is that CHERISH queried OpenStreetMap to retrieve the assets in Ghent, suggests us a list of assets which I will follow, and we see the retrieved assets here as polygons, blue polygons over Ghent's historic city center, which is roughly delimited by this square. So let me show you how powerful CHERISH is. This button on the top left launches the CHERISH algorithm on space data. Once it completes, our assets have switched from the blue color to 4 color categories. What do they mean? The red one means urgent action needed, which implies that the building moves in both the horizontal and vertical direction. The yellow means action needed because the building moves either only horizontally or only vertically. Green, of course, means no action needed. The ground movement is negligible in this below this building. And white means not measured. So this means that space data coverage is insufficient to draw a conclusion. And this applies in practice to So summarize, this map gives city managers an immediate ranked priority list by the colors, and there is no need to be an expert in interpreting satellite data.
Yanis, so I see, for instance, that in the middle, I see the Cathedral of Saint Bavo, which is the famous cathedral in Ghent. It's marked in red. So what do we do now?
Yes, indeed, Dan. So when I click on Saint Bavo, we land on what we call the asset health card, which is basically the link between satellite monitoring and day-to-day asset management. So as you correctly saw, the CHERISH index for this building is red, recommending urgent action. but cities can actually add local knowledge. With this core matrix, we can combine the CHERISH index with a city assessment, which will override the CHERISH index. For example, if the building was recently inspected, the city can mark no action needed, and the status updates to green. So this is a feature we'd love to build further out with pilot cities in phase 3 of SPACE4Cities. But for now, let's just go back to the CHERISH recommendation. So if we want, we can use this mini-map to dig in a further level deeper into the space data analysis. So below the hood, CHERISH groups satellite measurements into cells. There are pink cells, which show areas of abnormal ground displacement, and there are white cells, which represent stable areas. So if you want, we can click on the cells which where we see their average displacement velocity, and we can zoom in into the details of the historical time series that we have for a deeper analysis and comparison. And we can do this both concerning the horizontal or the vertical movement. I will now switch to Helsinki, as I said, because Helsinki is a city with open 3D data. So this is the health card of the Uspensky Orthodox Cathedral in downtown Helsinki. And this time, below its minimap, we have an additional insert where we see the 3D model of the building and the surrounding terrain with some small visualization artifact in this case. This is a model that we directly retrieved from Helsinki's open 3D data portal and included it in our application. The interesting part is when we switch to the surface model representation, where the walls have turned to gray and the roof surface is to red, which is simply a visualization. It doesn't mean that there is an urgent status on the roof or so. But what is interesting here is that some walls here, for example, in green, have been highlighted with colors. And this means that we could calculate the mean displacement velocity for some of the building surfaces. And this can give the city a guide for where exactly to focus on-site inspections when we consider that a building needs inspection. Before we move on, the health card also has a visitors traffic panel on the bottom. So right now it's mock data, but if a city provides real visitor figures, we can plug them in directly. And that's basically the idea behind CHERISH. The more data your city brings in, the more features we can unlock or develop together in phase 3. So I will now switch back to Ghent, the St. Bavos Cathedral. And if I click on the building status, I get a dialog box prompting me to create an operation. So let's plan an inspection in September that will cost us, let's say, €1,000. It's the first inspection, and we can add, if we have, some quotations or requests for quotations or invoices and any attachment relevant to this operation. And of course, we get this in our to-do list, so the list of operations for the building. The pink dot here flags operations that originated from a CHERISH alert. And this is how we measure how many satellite alerts get translated into field action. Because beyond these operations, you may bring in your own already established schedule, which is independent of the satellite measurement. So this tagging is the core of CHERISH's value proposition. It's not just detecting deformation, but closing the loop to documented response. I will now close the health card and show you that beyond one building at a time, of course, managers can get a full filterable asset list, which is also exportable to Excel. And they also have a operations list overview of all operations across all assets, present and past, with the status, so a manager can see at a glance what's coming up next month. And for the purpose, I've already created several entries across several countries. Finally, our dashboard provides a city-wide view, and it's organized in 3 panels. There is an asset inventory with a mock, for example, here of UNESCO assets and sites in your city. The other data is really directly pumped from the data in the app. Only this is a mock here. And the second panel is the monitoring panel with alert distribution in Gantt, so summarizing here the red and yellow ones. And finally, there is the management section where you can track your operations status and also budget. In other words, you have here everything you need for a quarterly review, a budget request, or a stakeholder presentation that you can prepare simply by exporting the dashboard in a PDF. Dan, I hand the floor back to you now.
Okay, thank you, Ioannis, for reinjecting me in the conversation. So as you saw with this live demonstration, which is a professional, okay, just clear for everyone, all the city representative, it works. We offer, as for CHERISH solution, offers the monitoring, the alert system, the visualizing of the assets, the analytics and the capacity to predict, and of course the management of the inventory and the planning that is attached to it. So it's a full integrated, what they call integrated management solution for the management of assets. Of course, the assets here we showed you cultural heritage, but it could be other types of assets. As we said, we also work on the bridges of a city. We work on the cultural heritage. We can also work on other public buildings that need to be followed in a matter of a portfolio type of monitoring. So we can translate and apply the CHERISH solution to other type of assets. Okay. So what are the benefits for your city? Look at all the different stakeholders. There could be civil engineers, could be city planners, could be firefighters, could be cultural ministry or cultural ministry, meaning religious authorities. So different stakeholders. And typically we have a solution, a feature that serves all the purpose. Can we follow the budgets? Yes. Can we prioritize inspections? Of course, yes. And can we just map and see the assets that are in the specific district at risk or what? And we can do that.
Okay,
so CHERISH.
Sorry to interrupt you, but we're going out of time now.
Okay, two slides. CHERISH is for all European cities. It doesn't depend on your level of capacity of assets. It works for everyone, and some other additional features can be used for cities that have live data, that have 3D data. So it works for everyone. The baseline works for everyone, and it can be enhanced if you have more data. Next, the planning is we have 3 months for the Replicator cities. We'll be doing the first deployment in Helsinki and piloting with you in Replicator cities. 3 months. We have a plan which is always involving interaction with the city and city official, involving and requiring mostly 1 hour and a half per week only, because everything can be done. Many things can be done online by our monitoring systems to follow the actions. So yes, do deploy CHERISH now in your city and protect the best assets, your cultural assets, the heritage of Europe. Thank you very much, and sorry for the timing.
Okay, thanks a lot, Dan and Ioannis. So we'll keep the questions for you until the end of the demos. The next one is CityMotion. So Candela, are you there? Are you ready?
Yes. I say I'm Candela, I'm the CEO of Detectia, and today I present CityMotion, that is our solution being developed within the SPACE4Cities project. So CityMotion is based on satellite radar technology, what is called as INSAR. So in simple words, INSAR allows us to measure very small movements on the ground, buildings and infrastructures from space with millimeter precision. So what we are trying to do with CityMotion is to make this type of information much easier to understand and use for cities by combining satellite deformation data with geospatial tools, AI agents, and natural language interaction. So first, few words about Detectia. So Detectia was founded in 2019 as a spin-off of the Civil Engineering School at the Technical University of Madrid. Since then, we have been supported by European Space Agency, the Global Infrastructure Hub, and the EUSPA's Cassini Business Accelerator Program. And today, we work in Europe, North America, and South America. So Detectia's work focuses on monitoring deformation processes in cities and infrastructures. So these movements can be caused by many different factors: underground construction, groundwater extraction, rainfall, aging infrastructure, or just the interaction between several of these processes. So since 2020, we have applied INSAR technology in different urban areas, helping cities and infrastructure managers understand where the ground or structures are moving, how fast they are moving, and whether those movements might represent a risk or not. So INSAR technology allows us to monitor how cities evolve over time with millimetric precision, not just one building or one street, but the whole urban area. And this is extremely powerful because for each measurement point, we obtain a deformation time series. So we can see not only how fast something is moving, but also how that movement evolves month by month or year by year. And in Europe, we are in a very good position because we already have the EMS, the European Ground Motion Service, which provides INSAR deformation data for the entire continent. But with this huge volume of information also comes a challenge. In a single city, we can easily have hundreds of thousands of measurement points, and each point has its own time series, such as this one. So, and each of these time series contains useful information. Some areas may be stable, others show a gradual trend, others may accelerate, slow down, or change behavior after a specific event. So the problem is not the lack of data anymore. It's almost the opposite. We have a huge amount of data, and the difficult part is turning it into something useful for the decision making. So city managers usually do not want to work directly with complex geospatial tools or analyze thousands of time series manually. What they need are clear answers to practical questions. Where is something changing? When did it start? How important it is? Is it getting worse? So this example explains why advanced analysis is needed. So if we only look at the deformation velocity, we might miss part of the story. So in cities with large subsystem processes, such as Mexico City, many areas might seem to be moving in a similar way. But when we compare each point with its neighbor, we can calculate more meaningful indicators, such as angular distortion. So these metrics help us detect local differences and identify areas where deformation might be more relevant for buildings or infrastructure. And this is one of the key ideas behind CityMotion. We do not want to show only deformation values. We want to help cities extract the information that really matters from complex deformation data. So before explaining CityMotion, it is useful to understand what Detectia already has today. So over the last few years, we have developed an advanced API to work with large volumes of deformation data. This API allows us to do things like decompose movements in different directions, detect anomalies, changes in deformation trends, analyze the influence of external variables such as rainfall or temperature, and calculate structural health metrics for buildings and infrastructures. So the analytical capabilities are already there. The problem is that using these tools still requires technical knowledge. You need to understand INSAR data, geospatial analysis, time series, API, and that can become a barrier for many city teams. So this is where CityMotion comes in. So in SPACE4Cities, we are adding a new layer on top of the existing technology, large language models and AI agents. So the idea is simple. Instead of asking city managers to learn how to use our complex geospatial tools, we allow them to interact with the system using natural language. So they can ask questions, explore deformation patterns, identify problematic areas, or understand what might be happening in a specific part of the city without needing to operate the technical tools directly. So in other words, CityMotion connects satellite information data, detectors, analytics tools, and AIs to make this information much more accessible. And of course, cities do not work only with the information data. To understand what's happening in urban areas, we often need to combine different sources of information, maps, building, parcels, infrastructures, weather data, or any other local data set. And that is why in CityMotion, the AI agent can also access external tools and APIs, such as we can see here, Google Map, OpenStreetMap, Cadastral Services, or any other Inspire compliance services. So this allows the agent to put information data into context, deliver richer and more intelligent answers. So CityMotion has two complementary pillars. And on one side, we have the MCP server, which allow AI tools like Claude, Mistral, ChatGPT, or any other agents to connect with the text, geospatial, and deformation analytics. And this is important because CityMotion is not only a web application, it is also a way to make our tools available to the wider AI ecosystem, and eventually to other environments such as GIS platform or digital twins. On the other side, we have the CityMotion web application, which is the interface for city teams, a map, deformation layers, dashboards, and a conversational assistant in the same place. And importantly, this web application also uses the same MCP layer. So the web tool is not a separate deployment, but a practical example of how CityMotion intelligence can be integrated into any AI-enabled environments. So user can ask questions, explore deformation patterns, and understand what is happening in the city without needing to work directly with complex data or technical tools. And this is really the main message. CityMotion connects satellite deformation data, advanced analytics, and AI agents to make urban deformation intelligence much easier to use. And let's see it in practice. So if I can escape, can you see that I have changed the slide? So let's go for it. So we will start with ChatGPT. We have the data connector, and we want to see the vertical deformations in a neighborhood in Athens. So I ask the system, okay, give me these areas where the vertical movements are above the average. So it says the system knows how to connect, how to identify the scenario, and how to get the vertical velocities properly. And now it has also selected neighborhood, and we are seeing the data. So here we see the neighborhood we have selected with all the points. This place, the color depends on the color. If it's sinking a lot, it's red. If it's going up, it is blue. And now we have also asked, give me the maximum values. So the system is also filtering the values, and we will see on the map which are these points that go above the filter. So in this case, we have these red points. That means these are the points that are sinking the most. And we can see the time series in gray of insert, and also how we have modeled and identified this breakpoint, this moment when something in the time series changes. This is a specific moment in time that something has made this building change. And also here with the opposite colors, we have these points where something has happened, that the building is moving up. And here we have the metrics. Out of 2,666 points, 7 sinking and 2 uplifting. And if we go to the web platform, and once we get close to the city, we have a resume on the right-hand side of what we have available in the city. So in this case, we will do a similar thing. I want to see the behavior in vertical, but not only points, but also in all the buildings, polygons, and infrastructure you can identify in this area. So as in the previous case, through the MCP, we are calling our database, and we can say, okay, we have this layer for buildings with these metrics, and it's expressed in millimeters. And now we have the data in the map. You can see we have the points and we have the polygons of the vertical movements for the area we have selected. So we can switch off the points, so we can look at how the metrics of each building is moving through time. So we can see at which point each building is starting to move a bit or less, and identify these buildings that are moving at each step through the analysis. This is a 5 years analysis. So we have identified this building that, as we can see, something is happening since mid-2021. And also the CityMotion ask, would you like me to help you to interpret? So yes, please. Tell me what is happening in this building. So we have an interpretation through time when something happened and what shall be reviewed. So for instance, there is around mid-2022, there's a abrupt step, so it has to be changed. Then during 2023, so we have also recommended the step of what to do and how to analyze this building. So this is just the idea. So just to finalize, I'm back to where I left the PPT. So yeah, for Replicator City, so what can I say? So for us, a Replicator City is not just a place where we test CityMotion. It's a real opportunity to show that the solution can work in different urban contexts with different priorities, different infrastructures, and different types of data. And the idea is very simple. We adapt CityMotion to your city. If you already have insert data, we can integrate this data into the platform. If you don't, we can start immediately with the European Motion Service, which already provides the information across Europe. And when more detail is needed, we can also generate new insert data specifically for you. So regardless of your starting point, CityMotion can help you understand how the ground, buildings, or infrastructures in your city has been moving over time since 2015. So it allows you to look back, understand what has happened, and start identifying which areas or assets might need closer attention. And this is especially valuable when something is happening in the city. For example, after heavy rainfall, underground works, metro tunneling construction, large excavation works, landslide, earthquakes, or changes in groundwater levels. So all these events can affect the stability of the ground and nearby infrastructures. But the effects are not always visible from the surface, and they are not always easy to understand with isolated inspection. So CityMotion helps cities answer a very practical question. Which areas have changed? When did the change start? Is the movement getting worse? Which buildings, roads, bridges, or other critical assets might be affected? So instead of simply showing the formation maps, CityMotion helps transform satellite measurement into useful knowledge for city teams. During the pilot, your technical teams will be able to ask questions in natural language, exploring the results on a map and identifying areas of concern, and prioritize inspections based on objective citywide evidence. So beyond the pilot itself, we want to work closely with your teams, understand your real operational needs, and use your feedback to improve CityMotion. So our goal is not to make cities become experts in satellite data. Our goal is to make satellite intelligence so cities can better understand how they evolve over time, protect what matters, and make more proactive, evidence-based decisions. So just to close, I will say that our goal is not to make cities become experts in satellite data. Our goal is to make satellite intelligence accessible to every city, as I have just said. So thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Carmela. We go over to Alex to explain what it means to be a replicator city. Yes.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so obviously we've heard now about the 5 exciting solutions that obviously SPACE4Cities is now proceeding on with pilots, and you also have learned a bit about the pairing. So which of our buyer cities is now also working with what solution? Well, other cities in Europe to join us on our journey and benefit obviously from the last 2 years or 2.5 years of learnings and experiences, and also the effort that our suppliers have put into it. For this open call, we are really looking for 10 replicator cities and regions who are willing to pilot one of these 5 solutions in their own environment. And we would like to give each pilot a fair chance as well to, or each supplier a fair chance to pilot. So the idea is that those 10 replicator cities will obviously be evenly distributed across those 5 solutions. So in the end, we will select 2 replicators for each of the solutions. Okay. And for you guys to be part of this, on one side, it obviously gives you the opportunity really to put the tools that we've now developed into into practice and solve a real challenge that you have in your city and community. The whole thing is free for you, obviously, which is great. It doesn't require any sort of like financial commitments apart from time on your end and no upfront investment. So it's really for you an ability now to innovate without the risk usually that comes with it. It also allows you to build evidence and internal know-how, how these kind of solutions can actually deliver to your problems, and which you could use later for future planning, budgeting. Another benefit is also that as part of those pilots, these are pilots, obviously, as we clearly said, you also have the opportunity to influence as well the features of the solutions. So you can provide feedback as well to the solution providers, and they're very keen as well to reflect your feedback into they become more usable. And obviously, it's an opportunity for you to learn what comes next, right? So to be like one of the front runners as well and understand how future is shaped through space data enabled solutions and how they could benefit your cities going forward. So in summary, it's like a low effort, low risk, and high learning opportunity, right? And yeah, which we really are keen to have you be part of. More practically, replicators will obviously receive a 3-month pilot, which is free. The costs are covered by our procurement, so by the project's procurement. But obviously, there's the license or service fee beyond is for the pilot period, not beyond. But there's no obligation on your end to acquire the solution. Yeah, so it's just for you an opportunity to try out and then later on see how you like it or what you've learned from it. And secondly, we also realized that it's good or that cities also require maybe some space to engage and to be part of for the pilot phase. So there's a small budget of £2,500 that can be allocated for travel engagement, to visit, let's say, maybe a fellow a city who engages in the same pilot, like for instance the Bayer Group city, because they might start slightly earlier, so you can maybe already learn from them, or even as well maybe participate in an event towards the end where we disseminate our learnings from the project. Then there's obviously a key good thing is like if you're selected, you are in a group of peers, so there are 3 cities trialing the same solution. So you can basically learn from each other, and obviously your city and your experiences will also gain visibility for the projects through our articles, webinars, and case studies that we publish on our website and on social media. So yeah, so there's lots, I guess, to gain from what we offer here. I think now we come to the most stickiest question. So who can actually apply for this? And I think we had some questions slightly earlier, and I want to make here very clear clarification. So obviously the whole project is funded under Horizon Europe program. It's obviously really geared towards public sector bodies, municipalities, cities, regions, or agencies acting on their behalf, right? So it's really, and what I mean here is, for instance, if it's like a sort of digital company that a city has created, for instance, that does all the sort of digital activities and so on. So it's really focused. So you need to be a local authority or a city or municipality or a regional authority to apply. And where, so it doesn't apply to universities, it doesn't apply to companies or private sector stakeholders, right? So where, who can participate or what cities can participate? As we said, it's a Horizon Europe funded program. So only public sector bodies, as indicated earlier, who are part of the Horizon Europe program are eligible for it. And there's some nuances as well, because I know some countries have joined slightly later, like the UK, that it's only those who were eligible under the 2022 2022 work program, from which Space4Cities is currently being funded. Okay, so and this is a specific call. So please check yourself whether, if you're like from a non-EU country, whether you are still eligible for this participation there. And yeah, we put United Kingdom here explicitly because we already received quite a few inquiries, but it also applies to any other country who might have joined later as associated countries. So you needed to have been really eligible already during 2022, 2023 to be able to receive the funding support. What we have to say is that we don't obviously want to exclude anyone. So if you feel that you are really keen and interested in those solutions, you are happy to, although you're not eligible. And we will obviously review this and share this also with the suppliers as potential other pilot opportunities. But please consider those as optional. So they are not funded under the program and not supported by the program. So this would be subject to maybe bilateral conversations that you might have with the suppliers. Okay. Our priority is really to get 10 basically cities or regions or local authorities that are eligible to be part of those pilot activities. Yeah. And obviously, although you are free to apply for multiple solutions, we will not fund more than one, right? So to also give fair chance to other cities and to be part of this, right? You might have maybe, you are free to submit 2 or 3 applications if you like really 2 or 3 solutions, but if you are in a selection region, right? So if your application is ranking high, we will only fund one of those solutions. Right? That's sort of a little keyword to take into account. And you will also need a commitment letter from your city, local authority organization that should be signed by an authorized representative that this application is fully supported by it, because 3 months is short and we need to be really 100% sure that you can move quickly and you have the adequate backing. And that's why we require this commitment letter in addition to the application. Okay. Then what you need to do is obviously select one of the 5 solutions that you're interested in or more. But the idea is really each application only relates to one, right? Because obviously you need to argue why your city is a particular fit for this and in need for this, right? So I hope this makes sense. So pick one or pick more, but you need to have a separate application for each of the solutions if you want to do multiple ones. And again, just for clarity, you can get at most one funded by us or supported by us. So as a replicator, what you need to do, so you need to nominate one contact point, obviously, for the application and potentially a small internal working group to support this. Obviously, identify clear end users in your organizations. So the key end users who will be actually using those tools and benefiting from those tools, and you need to demonstrate evidence how this obviously fits into your workflows and what benefits you expect. Obviously, also ensure that those end users are available for early onboarding, testback, feedback, and all sort of evaluation activities that we want to carry out for the pilots. Define obviously a concrete local challenge that matches the solution. Obviously, as you see, some of the solutions might benefit or require maybe some additional data. So in an ideal world, it would be good that such data is available in a reasonable way for pilot duration. And obviously, we want you to share also your lessons learned with us, and so contribute towards the end to a case study around this. Okay. Then looking really at the life cycle. So basically, it's you've seen it also maybe described for some of the providers. But what we expect is like initially a bit of an onboarding and clear scoping part, followed by then a deployment and configuration of the solution in your environment, followed by a period of testing with some feedback, and then obviously as part of this as well some peer exchange, so you can basically compare notes and lessons learned with the other cities who are currently actively participating in it, and obviously towards the end wrap up this with a small case study and join in some dissemination activities if relevant.
Alex, sorry to disturb you, but it's already 2:49, so and we still have a lot of questions.
Yeah, okay, sorry, I wasn't given much more time, right? So I think I'm trying to keep, I just have 9 minutes so far. So let me sort of like wrap this up quickly. So I think obviously I hope my presentation is clear, so there are not too many questions arising, but so yeah, how do we evaluate? So there are different criteria we will score. So the fit of the selected solution to local challenge, the end user relevance and workflow integration, the readiness, expertise and data availability, pilot commitments, and obviously a few thoughts on how you plan the solution to be basically potentially operating further beyond the pilot. And the application process is pretty simple. You need to, we've got all documentation online, a call manual to read, and also a bit of an annex about the solutions. There are all the videos, the presentations of today, on also the past sessions that we had to consult to about those. Identify one or more pilots, prepare one or more application forms based on how many pilots you're interested in, attach a commitment letter, and then also participate in be prepared to have a clarification interview if you're shortlisted after the application. It's a very lightweight process, so it should not take you more than 60-90 minutes to complete the application. And obviously, there's a form there. It's all explained in the application manual clearly. So we've tried to make this as lightweight as we can for you. The timeline obviously is the call will close on the 15th of September. So we plan, apart from today, 2 further info sessions just for people who might have missed it or might have additional questions to ask those questions. There's also an opportunity to ask questions via email. I'll share this in a minute. Then there will be a period, and we hope by the end of September have notifications sent. And then the idea for us is the pilots would take place between October and March. I guess, subject to obviously agreeing a timeline also with the suppliers, right? But that's sort of the rough engagement period that we envision. Okay, and that's maybe just a brief review. So there's a call page up. You can access it here online already. The documents are available, all also linked from this call page. Announced in August, September, will be also already on the platform. So please feel to register and ask your questions via space4cities.eu. And how to submit the application is just send an email then of the application form as PDF, as well as the letter of support by basically 5 p.m. Or 1700 CET on the 15th of September. And questions here. That's it. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for all the information. So we still have 8 minutes for the questions. I think, Ari, you collected them.
Yes, so, but yeah, for Alex, there is a few questions about the call. So there was a question, when will the matchmaking be completed? And if there is multiple cities, more than 2, that wish to pilot with the same supplier, how will the matchmaking be managed? Is it like with first come, first serve basis?
Yeah, so I think obviously we want that we have suppliers for So there's a ranking, obviously, on the merit of your proposals based on the scoring criteria that we outlined. And that's the primary way of allocating, I guess, cities to pilots. And then the second bit is obviously we want also to ensure that we have pilot applications for two replicator cities per solution, right? So if one is heavily oversubscribed, one slightly less, we need to make sure there's a balance. And then it might be that you might, in this case, be offered a second choice rather than the first, for instance, right? So, but I think this is the way, and that's why we also have an interview stage where we will discuss with a shortlist during this sort of last 2 weeks of September how the final matching will happen, right? So that's sort of the idea. So it's I hope that's clear. Yeah. So.
Yes, thank you. And then there's a last question about the 2,500 euros paid. So is it provided as 2,500? Yeah, 2,500. I think that's what I said. But yeah, is it provided as a lump sum or some other way?
Yeah, no. The idea is that it needs to be eligible expense, and you need to receive it. So so obviously, if you do a travel, we need to have the travel costs that we can claim. Or if you have if you go into a dissemination event for the project, so that's the idea, right? So it's not like just money you can use. However, it's really there to support you in doing a visit, maybe at a pilot city, or attend a dissemination event with us. If it makes sense.
Yes, so it's like paid towards like realized expenses.
Yeah.
There's a question from Johannes from CHERISH team. I understood it like this is about the matchmaking between the replicators and suppliers. So will the interviews be only with cities, or do they also involve suppliers?
No, it will be just between us. So I think we don't want to make it far more too complex. Based on obviously, we will be able to evaluate suitability already based on your application. So that you submit, and then it's more about like allocating first or second preference, right? So I don't think we can do this very extensive. So there will not be a supplier involvement in this.
So that's all the questions from the chat. If anyone still wants to ask anything, you can also raise your hand. But last call for questions. And thank you, Gerhard, for the congratulations. Thank you for joining.
Amazing.
Yeah. I guess that's all for the questions.
Yeah, I really hope that you guys find this opportunity exciting. We expect your applications over summer. We've deliberately made it slightly longer so you can go on holiday and come back and still submit it. So, looking forward to obviously receiving them and hopefully also engaging you further in the pilots.
Okay, then I want to thank everyone that was here today to join. I thank especially suppliers for showing their demos, and Alex and Ari and Tim to help through this meeting.
Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.